Hello, everybody, and thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching The Vuyo Show. We're coming to you from New York City, and we have another installment and episode lined up just for you. You're going to be inspired, you're going to be excited and ignited with the conversation that we're going to be having here today. We're talking music, one of my favorite things, y'all. And this next guest, listen, when it comes to music in New York City, you can't mention the word music without mentioning my next guest, because he's taken over the New York City music scene by storm. Just released an album. Actually, it is being released very soon. So we're going to be unpacking all of that and so much more on the show today. So please, wherever you are around the world, help me welcome onto the show the one and only Luke Waldron.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here. Happy to be here. This is cool.
That was such a long intro, but I felt like you needed a long intro.
That's really great, though. I think when I go on tour, you'll have to introduce me like that. Like, that's fantastic. That was really great. Yeah.
I've actually had people say, "Vuyo, can I book you to be my introducer?"
Yeah, that's such a most people don't do it well. So shout out to you for doing it so well. That's good.
I try, but it's also I get excited. You know why I get excited is because I get excited when someone is doing such cool things.
Sure.
That just sets fire inside of me. I'm just like, I want to do you the honors of introducing you right, okay? Because you're dope and you're cool, so you have to be, so that's where that comes from.
Cool.
I enjoy seeing people do cool things, and I've seen you do cool things over an extended period of time. Never spoken to you before. I've watched this guy perform for over a year, and I have never spoken to him until this very moment.
Right.
So
yeah.
And I heard his voice for the first time like a week ago. So y'all can understand how excited I am. I'm like a fan of Luke, but Luke doesn't know that. And now I have to get to talk to him. So
this is cool.
I am excited.
yeah, me too.
How are you doing, Luke?
Yo, I'm doing great. I'm really doing good. Life is good right now. I'm very a lot is happening in a great way.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited that that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I found out that you were releasing a project, and I think I always respect people who put out projects, because putting a project together takes a lot. Even the decision to be like, I'm going to do it, takes a lot of effort, time, resources, energy. So being able to get to that point, I just always respect people who do. So when I heard that you were releasing a project soon, I was like, oh, I want to hear all about it.
Cool.
I want to hear all about it. So I know we're going to talk about it a bit later, but if you were just to give us a brief of this coming project, what it is.
Okay, word. I'm very excited about this. It's a project entitled The Love Suite. It's a collection of 7 compositions I made during quarantine. And it's to kind of be able to explain and go through the emotions of being in love with someone. The emotions of what that may mean, the good parts, the not so good parts, all of that jazz is in there. This whole project, all that jazz. Yeah, that was good. Oh man, that was strong. Okay, so it's really a group of compositions. 7 songs are on there, and I was able to play with really great friends of mine and amazing musicians. And this whole project that we did, where we recorded it, was actually in my backyard. Wow. So this is a part of another project that I do, which we started during quarantine, which is something called the Backyard Kickback, which is usually happens around the last week in August, just to kind of say goodbye to summer and everything. It's a show we do in my backyard, performing live music. The first time we did it was in 2021, and it's been going ever since. Just get a lot of people to come out, and they enjoy the time, so it's cool.
So this project was birthed from that project.
So this project was recorded during that. So this was recorded on August 25th, 2023. So that was the last time that we did it. It's been a great thing. But yeah, I love Sweet. Really excited to be able to get this music out. It's been a process. We've been working on it for over a year, and it's crazy that we're here now.
I love that. And I want to hear all about it. But there's so much just curiosity that I also have outside of just the project. As I'd said, I'd watched you perform for such a long time, and just always wondered some questions. I was like, just curiosity.
Sure.
So I might just, just dive deep into that, and then we get to like the project.
Let's do it.
And so, if you were to kind of, this is like a cliche question, and I never ask this. I don't like asking this question.
Yeah.
But I think you are one of the people who I'm like, I can qualify to ask you this question of like, who is Luke Waldron?
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Like if you were to be asked that question, how would you go about just expanding on it?
Sure. So Luke Waldron is a person who has passions in a lot of areas that may potentially from the outside looking in seem contradictory.
Interesting.
However, due to his faith and belief in God and the ability to just kind of lean more on faith than not sight, lean more on the possibilities of things going really, really well versus the possibilities of them failing, is what really drives the majority of the decisions that he makes. Yeah. He's someone that cares about people and wants to be able to use music as a means to create community around what I think all humans can agree to, even though there's a lot of things that we don't agree with, right?
Especially right now.
Especially right now, okay? There's a lot going on. But I do think that really on the root of us as humans, I think we all agree on just emotions. I think we can all relate on certain circumstances, whatever caused the emotion, right? Whatever the causes may be different, but there are root emotions that I think every human fundamentally will experience. And I think music is a way to communicate that and connect in that regard. So I'd say that's Luke Waldron right there. Yeah.
You know what I like about that response is that if one would be asked that question, they would immediately go into like, oh, I am a musician, or I am a. But you kind of went deeper than that, to just explore you as an individual and as a person.
Yeah.
And to some degree, all of the other stuff being secondary to who you are fundamentally as a person. And though what you do gets to become a medium of expressing what innately is in you.
Right.
Would you say that that's accurate?
1,000%.
Yeah. And so you mentioned multiplicity, just having multifacetedness inside of you. And would you say that multifacetedness is in music or multifacetedness in just being a person in general? How would you describe that?
It's a great question. I'd say both. Me in general, there are a lot of things I think I'm called to do, and walking in them can be contradictory. I'll give an example. As a person, music is majority of the time that I spend and things that I really love to do. I was able to go to school for it. I went to Berklee College of Music, studying jazz composition and just getting deep into what this whole music thing really is.
Yeah.
And as I was diving into that journey, I was like, I really, really am interested in and fascinated by just the process of progression of things, because there's so many storylines of artists and creatives who start here and then they go somewhere else, and they start at this place and end up expanding to other things. And I know that for a fact when it comes to expanding outside of just music and looking into other things and studying things like finance, studying things like business administration, just studying other stuff that exists out there, and where I've seen people as far as entrepreneurship and just that realm of things as well. Yeah. And I didn't know that I really had that much of a passion for that, but I knew I wanted to really find and help people. And there's a quote that a mentor of mine pretty much always brings up. It's like your income is directly related to your philosophy, but also your contribution. How are you helping people, right? Because that's usually the transfer of funds is usually, okay, hey, I need a service or a product or something, and then
I'm able to
you're able to do that. Yeah. And that mindset or just the way of thinking has helped enhance my music as well, and it's just a beautiful thing. But musically, I'd say definitely also multifaceted as well. I studied classical music for most of the time when I first started in saxophone. So the whole jazz stuff that I'm doing now wasn't really where I started. And so it's kind of getting more understanding in that, also playing gospel every Sunday, as we know, and doing that's been great. And so I don't really ever want to put myself in a box musically, because I know that there's something that I don't know, and it'll always make what you're going to create next a lot better too. Because if you're like, oh, I only play this type of music, so I'm only going to make and participate in this type of music and box yourself into this, then you'll only sound like this, right?
Yeah.
But then if you say, okay, I play this type of music really well, but then I also want to play this music. Okay, I may not love it per se, but I know I'm going to like give my all to it.
Yeah.
And then you're going to play some cool stuff from there, and then you're going to bring those influences over to your original music. So it's kind of like, so I never want to put myself in a box or say that I'd really be limited to one thing. I just know that there's power in doing a lot of different things. Not at the same time, though. Not at the same time. Just doing different things. 'Cause it's like a different
and having different outlooks of life. And you mentioned earlier on that you kind of, have God in your life. So whenever I speak to guests who are Christian or have faith embedded in them, I always kind of bring some scriptures into play to just feel like, to get context. One being, I can do all things, through Christ who gives you strength, which I get excited when I hear Christians explore different facets of themselves, because I'm like, you take that scripture literally.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can do everything that you want to do, or everything that God has put inside of you.
Yeah.
But looking at the exploration and the multiplicity of just being a human in general, and doing different things, for you, when you look at what to do, like what do you look at? So because there's a lot of things to have to do, right? So when you're considering what to do, and that's, and we're going to get into the music specific, but when it just comes in relation to life in general, and you said that you choose things in life as well that you can explore, what do you make sure that, are there values or certain principles in certain spaces? What would you say in that?
Yeah, I guess like the question is like what qualifies adding something else to the plate, right? Like what kind of food does it have to be, right?
Yeah. Yes, you get it.
Man, I'd say for me it needs to be something that makes me feel good. Like I have to be in some way, shape, or form like satisfied. Yeah. And so I wouldn't necessarily do something that wouldn't satisfy me, right? So now that kind of would help. That would be like the first qualifier. What emotions do I experience with doing like whatever the thing is that I'm doing? And qualifying that not by comfort, right? Not like by, like this is comfortable, so therefore this is, needed, right? Yeah. But more so like, is this going to help me grow in some way, shape, or form?
And that's what you like. You like the growth that comes from that comfort, if that makes sense. Like growing because you're learning something from it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you become like, what you get is secondary to who you become and whatever it is that you're doing.
Oh, that's good.
So like whatever you're working on to do, it has to be something that makes something of you to become it. Then you do the things that would get you the results that you want. Yeah. So it has to be something that's like out of my comfort zone, or something that I'm like, man, I know I'm going to probably have to learn something through this. And if it's hard, it's usually a good motivator for me too. If it's like, yo, this makes no sense. I have no idea how we're going to do this. Like I have no clue at all. But I know that it's possible to do it. Yeah. And even if not having the specifics of the how, that for a long time that used to discourage me from doing anything. Because if I didn't have all the answers, I would be like, oh, well, that means it's not God's will, man. Yeah. Hey, if he ain't, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, that's the whole basis of the faith thing. Like, how could we always avoid situations or circumstances where we would actually need faith, Then
what's the point of faith? If you have everything that you need and you figured it out, then there's no point of having to need faith, that's the hard part, because I feel like a lot of, and just in hindsight of this conversation, a lot of people find themselves debating of the necessity of faith, because it's like, I don't know anything. Right. But this thing requires me to trust in it, but I don't know even what this thing is. Like I can't pinpoint what this thing is. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
What does that mean to you? We kind of unpacking this now in different avenues, but it's interesting for me to understand just the way and the framework in which you think, because that also helps us understand the music a little bit better.
Right, of course.
So faith in and of itself, what does that mean to you?
Man. Okay, faith is...
The substance of things not seen.
I was gonna say, I was trying not to use those words because it's like, it's in the Bible, you know what I mean? Like everyone says that when they define it. But I mean, like, I feel like if somebody who maybe isn't of faith, who maybe like listening to this or watching this and maybe not knowing what that even means.
Yeah.
I'd say on like a practical thing, I say that faith is the ability to walk confidently into something that you don't know. So faith, obviously, you have to assume and hope, like pray, and really kind of walk in there with the expectancy that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
So like the only reason when I wouldn't have faith is because I'm thinking that it won't work out.
Yeah.
Faith works in both ways, though. So you could have faith of the positive outcome or faith of the negative outcome.
But faith is going to be there either way.
Right.
That's an interesting take.
So it's like, okay, I have faith that this is going to work out. Cool. And we all say that that's faith. But there's also faith in saying, okay, well, I don't really think this is going to work out. Because you believe in faith that, okay, we don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
If it's going to work out or won't work out. Nobody really knows the outcome to any of that. But it could be either good or bad. Like applied faith is, I don't know if you're familiar with Napoleon Hill. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's this quote is like, applied faith is a mental attitude wherein you focus on the outcome that you want and not the outcome that you don't want. That's like very simple.
Yeah.
But applied faith still works out on both ways because you can have applied faith and we're applying it to the negative outcomes of things. Oh, man, what if this doesn't work out? Or what if God doesn't see me through this? Or what if this project doesn't work out? Or what if nobody listens to it? Or all of these things. Because they're both present. Positive and negative are always going to be there, and you have to choose which one you want to focus on. Once again, this is all, look, I'm speaking from these are truthful principles. Now, do I apply them all the time in my life? No. Am I completely immune to negativity? No. It's just like, okay, like, I know that this may be an option, but also the positive is also there as an option too. Now, do I take it all the time? No. Am I always there? No, definitely not. But I know that there's options, and the ability to know that there are options really helps because it's like, oh, we're going to say you may not be able to look at a positive outcome for what's happening or even have the faith for a positive thing to occur in your life. That's not the only option, you know?
The question that I would have is, where does the desire for that thing initially come from? Does that make sense? Because even getting into that thing, we spoke earlier on about the project that you're doing, like the musical project. Where does that desire to do the project come from initially? And we could say God, right? Because that's where we understand it to be from.
Sure.
But where does that come from to then have those two options? Because you're not going to have those two options unless you have started something or you are wanting to start something or there's a desire innately in you that's requiring you or igniting you to start something.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
That's a good question.
Because that one would say that's from faith or that comes from faith. So how do you kind of look at it in that sense? And the person on the where you got it from, why isn't there enough faith from that source to give you the confidence to see the positive? That's a loaded question.
That's a great question, man. I'd say the thing that I answered the last part of it. I think the thing that stops most people would be comparison.
Fair.
And it doesn't always have to be, oh, look at that person doing this thing. It could be within you thinking, oh, I should be here by now. Or I thought that this would work out at this time, at this place by now. I thought I'd be in this situation now. I thought it'd be in whatever, you know? Yeah. And the comparison isn't always external. It's mainly internal, right? And I think that's like the thing. But then I think where the inspiration, I think, would come from, I think God is really the only answer. and that's not, and I'm not saying God as like all right, I don't know what else to say, so let's just throw God out there, right? It's more like, oh, yeah, this is something that I don't know where the source of it is. So me saying God is a submission to it, to say, hey, it's not me. This isn't a Luke Waldron ordained thought. Like, you know what I'm saying? This isn't by my strength that any of this is possible. Because if that's the case, then it'll be way less than it's supposed to be, or the outcome will be way. It'll be less it'll be anticlimactic essentially. It'll be, oh wow, well this. Word. If it was just me, I mean, dang, you know, we ain't really going nowhere with this. Like, I wouldn't be on your show. I wouldn't be talking, you know what I mean? Like, none of these things would be occurring if it was just me. So I would say God, but not in a way or just a like kind of religious statement to say God, but to submit to, I think, that inner urge to do something. And I am of strong belief that I think everybody does have some semblance of that. To some degree, and it may not be a creative endeavor. It could be, I want to be the best mom ever. I want to be the best teacher ever. I want to show up for, you know, the people I love, trust, and care about. I think everyone has something like that, and I think the confidence and courage to actually listen to it and really not look at it as just a dream or whatever, and really be able to also make sure that you're around the right people that you share it with, and you're very cautious with who you share things with, because that could also throw you off your game too. But I think it comes internally. I think it is a God-given thing, but it's internal. I think everyone has it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when I hear the word dream, I think we use that word quite unawareingly.
Yeah.
Because if you think about an actual dream, when you sleep and you see a dream, like you see something in a dream, right? And the comparison of how we use the dream of something that you wanna achieve to the same thing as it being what you do when you sleep and you see things. I've always wondered, like, what does that mean? Like, why do we use the achievement of success as the same thing as what I do when I go home and I sleep and I see what is in the subconscious? Because that's what I've heard dreams are. It's what's already in your subconscious mind. So then why do we, and this is, again, you being a creative, that's what we use a lot. I have this dream, right? I want to do this and that. And we use that term a lot. And I've had to sit down with myself and ask myself, why do I use this term? Yeah. Right? Why not use the word purpose maybe, or the word, I don't know, God-given talent, or... But why do we use the word dream? And you use that in the sentence that you were saying as well. So I was just wondering, like, what that means to you.
Yeah. The purpose thing, I feel like using that word has like I think there's a certainty in the word of purpose. Okay. I think there's like, okay, if I say this is my purpose, then boom, like I'm stamping that this is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. And for most people, whenever you say, oh, this is my purpose, it's attached to an activity or attached to an outcome of some sort. Versus being like, oh, this is my purpose. We always have, like you said, okay, who's Luke Waldron? I'm going to like say, oh, yeah, I'm a this. But it's like, yeah, all of that are byproducts of who I am as a person, not actually like, you know. And so, yeah, to answer the question, though, I'd say dreams has become just the language used. I really don't think that it has many. I don't think it has much of an importance as far as it actually being like, okay, we're using the word dream for some like deeper reason. However, what is coming to mind now though is that the similarity between dreams, sleeping, right, and also dreams of success. These are both things that haven't happened yet. Oh. So the only thing I can think about that makes sense.
Please expand on that. That hasn't happened yet. Yeah. But so you would say that for every dream that you dream, it's not a memory. It's a subconscious, maybe future or current present. That would you say that? Therefore, we can equate it because dreams are not something that has happened. Right. You're not like remembering something that's happened. Yeah. So only something going forward would then be what that dream is in the subconscious. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Because in the dreams of the success storyline, you're saying, hey, I have this dream. The thing about it is that means that you're not in it right now. Yeah. That means that it being actualized is some future outcome that hasn't happened yet. So we're saying, okay, hey, I have this dream. to blank. That means that you're not doing it right now. It means you're doing it later. Or you're now motivated to do the things you need to do today to get to that later, whatever that may be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot. We're very deep.
We really are.
Feels
We're
like
really going in. Like this is actually, this is pretty heavy stuff. But I'm digging it. I'm here for it. This is ideal.
And I get so, and I love speaking to, I don't speak to that many creatives on the show.
Yeah.
So whenever I get to speak to someone who's a creative, and I can just unpack their mind, because
Sure.
again, what we see and what we receive as an audience comes from what that person is innately as a person.
Right.
What conversations do you have with God surrounding purpose and like why I'm here? I like that question for me. I don't know. I don't think we deepen it as much as we should. Like I'm like, this is a deep question, guys. We should be deep about it. Like and these conversations meant to be had. Like you see people like in the Bible, like people like Jeremiah and people like, Daniel and like Moses, and they confront God like, yo, my G, like you telling me to do something, why? I'm young, I'm this, I'm that, I can't speak, I can't. And then that conversation then unravels to the reasoning why, and then God explains, and then God comforts, and then God gives the revelation. So for you, have you had those types of conversations?
This happening right now is really really heavy right now for so many reasons. Oh man. Wow. Okay. Asking God why has been, I think, full transparency, has been one of my biggest fears.
To even have that conversation.
Yeah. I think I've rather kind of just taking it and being like, okay, yep, his thoughts are not my thoughts, his ways are not my ways. He knows what he's doing. He's sovereign, so I don't really need to worry about the why or the specifics of like, I don't really need to worry about the why. Now, is this me maybe a little bit of avoidant attachment to this whole process of submission? Maybe. But I really, the questions of why or all of that stuff, or why is this happening to me, or, maybe, okay, cool, am I supposed to be doing this? It is a daily prayer that I ask where it's like, hey, like, give me the same wisdom that you granted Solomon to be able to do whatever you called me to do at the highest level that I'm supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that's not of you that I'm doing, please take it away quickly.
So you are having those conversations?
Yes, but not in a what's my purpose, I'm like lost type of thing. More in a, okay, well, if I'm doing this right now, then this is my purpose. Like, you wouldn't have allowed me to be able to have this project out if this wasn't my purpose. If we wouldn't be having this conversation if this wasn't a part of his purpose. If he is a sovereign God, he has control over all things, he would not allow me to do it if he didn't want me to. And I think allowing that kind of has freed me up to just be present in what's going on. Because I'd be like, oh man, I hope I'm doing my purpose. I hope I'm doing it, and that's a spirit of fear for me to engage in those interactions, because I'm not being present in the moment of like, oh, like, this is great because it's happening. It's great because it is right now. Not because it's in alignment with my purpose, or not because I have these massive confirmations or anything. It's just, okay, like this is occurring and it existing, it's motion, it's momentum. These things are occurring. So, this is all proof that I'm supposed to be doing this. And in the event that I'm not supposed to be doing it, it'll be clear as day that I shouldn't be doing it. Or it'll be, and not to mean that just because things are hard, I shouldn't do it. I think there's another school of thought too, where it's like, oh man, it didn't work out. Well, there it is. You know what I mean? Like, there's the proof. I shouldn't do it. Like, I don't know. I think when there's a difference between it's hard and, it's hard, but I'm growing. It's hard, but I need to learn this. It's hard, but I need to get better at what this thing is so that it could be easier later. I wouldn't say hard is the reason why you shouldn't do something. Yeah, we can do hard things. We can do all things through Christ.
Because His strength gives us strength.
Okay.
So then would you say you listen then more to God? So instead of it being I'm asking you what my purpose is and why am I here, you're more of the approach more of is, I'm gonna say God's, like there's a young man in the Bible, his name just escaped my mind now, but God calls him once and he goes to his mentor.
Yeah.
Did you call me? No, I didn't. He comes back again. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Until he says, God, okay, speak.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna hear. You know. So would you say that's the approach as well, to say I'd rather just listen to what he gives me than have to go out and pursue what he's saying, because he's already speaking.
Right.
So I should just maybe listen more.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Listening.
Expand on that.
Listening is needed. Listening is needed because I think what happens is, for a lot of times we're talking when we're not listening. If we're talking, we're literally not listening.
Because we can't do both at the same time.
Cannot do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Because even if you ask me a question and I'm not listening to you, but thinking about how I'm going to talk in response, then I'm not really listening to your question.
Yeah.
So then I can't really, what are we doing, you know? When it comes to God, I think it's similar, because I don't think you need to really, I don't think you really need to talk much. I think we should do more listening.
Interesting.
And he does say, if you need help or if you need wisdom, do not hesitate in asking. God will not be upset at you for asking, right? So I'm not anti-asking questions. It's in the word to do that too. So I definitely be asking questions. Don't get me wrong. I ask a lot of questions.
Should I or shouldn't I? Yeah.
Right. I ask questions, but I just make sure that I have the room for the answers and expect the answers too. Because I could be like, okay, like maybe I know there's been prayers where I've been like, yo, man, if this project is supposed to be happening, please like show me a sign or something, right? And I ask those questions pretty often. But then if I'm not expecting him to answer them, and I maybe go and like don't reach out to anybody, or if I don't do any work to like maybe see or show, hey, I have faith that this is going to occur, so let me do something to like show that, you know? If that doesn't happen, it's going to be like, all right, well, it could happen. That would be great if it happens, versus expecting it to happen and be like, okay, no, I prayed about this, so I'm going to leave room now for you to answer.
And I'm going to listen in that living room to hear what then the response is. Because also, like, a lot of the times, like, as Christians, like, there's a prayer of the Solomon prayer, like, God, give me wisdom. And I guess the anticipation is that this wisdom is like this like thing that flows from the sky.
Right.
And, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't experience it.
Yes.
Until God then puts things where he's saying, then that's the response to some degree.
Right.
Of you then applying that wisdom. And having that wisdom being what comes out of those experiences.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of it just being things. And I love the idea of practicalizing, like, just faith in general and, like, the Bible. I'm like, okay, let's put it into action. What does this mean?
Right.
How does this work right now? How does this make sense to me right now?
Sure.
To some degree. And what would you say as a young boy you had to listen, or what was God speaking to you as a young boy? Were you back then like talking about God, or thinking about God? Were you? Because I know I could only imagine that your journey hasn't just started now.
Right.
I'm sure there's a story there. But as a young boy, what was your relationship like with God?
Man, in terms of music or just in general life?
In general.
Okay. Yep. So my dad is a pastor.
What?
My mom is a minister of music.
How did you don't give PK vibes though.
I don't even know what that means, but
it means pastor's kid.
Yeah, I know. No. I mean, what does PK vibes mean? Like what? Like, what would
I'm
that
a
mean?
PK.
Yeah.
I'm a PK.
Okay. Cool.
And some people have said
Okay.
Some people have told me I give PK vibes, because PKs are very like, very shy and like, because they have the weight of like they have the weight of
Christ
the church
on
is,
your shoulders.
and like the church is gonna judge me, so I need to be good, and like, you know what I mean. So I feel like you're so confident that it's like you're not like giving, oh my God, what is Sister or Deacon so going to say if I do this or say that? You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying you don't give PK vibes. But I can, in hindsight, I could get that.
Yeah.
But please share more.
Okay, PK vibes aside. Yeah, yeah, the growing up with God kind of in my life at all times, and the PK storyline for me is that it was kind of more like if I'm a PK, it was like certain, I guess, expectations, like you're saying, or things that you need to do in order to, But I just really am very grateful to my parents, man, because they were like very stressing about the relationship aspect of it, and how like you're gonna have to do the work to figure out what God looks like in your life.
For you.
For me, yeah.
Not for the church, but for
Right.
you as an individual as well.
Yeah, and it was a bit different. So my dad pastored one church, and my mom was a minister of music at a different one. And so it was like a bit of a different like situation where it wasn't like one church that all this stuff was happening through. So I technically have two home churches. So the dynamic of being the PK was different because in one church I was the PK, the other church I was just like the minister of music son.
Who's expected to know how to sing, play an instrument.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as my music in church started to happen, that was the first time actually seeing like the emotional the emotional benefits and the power of music. Like that was the first time I ever cried playing saxophone, was in church. First time ever having those like emotional experiences, right? Maybe i.e. presence of God, Holy Spirit, whatever, words you want to put in there to like kind of explain maybe why, and like it was this. But during was like, no, like, man, this music stuff is powerful. Like I'm playing notes and there are people screaming because of the power that is going through music, because of the responses to how I play or whatever happens, and when I'm playing, my eyes are closed at that point, and I'm just like hearing people crying, or people come up to me like, yo, I was just crying my eyes out just now. And I'm like, oh, like, like seeing how powerful this is. And, that's like the church setting where that type of stuff is normal. But still, especially at a young age, it was very eye-opening. But as far as my faith goes, I'd say I wouldn't say I took it seriously until I went to school in Boston. And that was the first time being able to not go to church.
Wait, okay. Church as in the building. Yeah, and that community.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, because every Sunday up to that point for my entire like life was going to church. So then when I was able to go to Boston and be away from all of that, remember the first Sunday when I didn't go, I was like, freedom! I was like, oh, it's lit. We outside. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can sleep. Like, I can sleep. What?
And wait,
like,
you can sleep until like 10:30. And you're like, what am I doing?
Like, is this a sin? I don't know. Okay.
I think I'm sinning.
literally that.
And you go on YouTube and you're like, okay, let me find a sermon right now. Let me go live.
Right. And that, for me, I guess during that time, I wasn't really too tapped into to like other churches online. Like that wasn't a thought. It was always in person.
Of course.
So I was like, okay, cool. All right. So no church. That's all right. Cool. And then I have a friend at the time. So I was doing music. So a lot of my obviously friends are musicians, but the church musician scene was a thing in Boston. So, and like it is in every city, but I had a friend of mine and he was trying to audition for this church, and he was like, yo, bro, I don't want to go by myself. Like, please come with me. So we're all going, this is all a new town for everybody, right? So new city, like obviously we want to, play it, make money at some point, and churches are usually the most ideal thing to do that. So we end up going to this church, never been there before. And I get in there and it's like very welcoming. It's cool. Like, the service was dope. Like it was cool. I was like, I hadn't been in church. I'd say I took like maybe like 2 or 3 Sundays. Of like,
that's not bad. I thought it was
like
2 months. It was like 2, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, was it 2? Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 Sundays.
Okay.
Now, I was like, okay, cool. And it didn't feel weird not going to church. It was just like a thing that I was like, okay. And it was like a moment where I was like, all right, bro, you're asking this. Like, let me just hold it down for you. It wasn't like God spoke to me and said, hey, you should probably get back to church. It wasn't none of that. Yeah. It was just like, okay, like, a homie ended up needing help, and
Yeah.
that obviously then in hindsight you could see that it was all God doing what God does. But I was like, all right, well, let me just go see what the word is. Once again, the service was cool, sermon was cool. I think that was the first time I ever. Sounds crazy in context. I think that was the first time I ever actually sat through a whole sermon.
I was gonna ask you that. I was like, were you playing in that sermon, or you were just sitting on the
No,
pews?
I was literally
just
sitting
being
at the
like,
pew, just being there, just there, and being able to just be in church, not being the church, not serving in the church,
I
not
know.
all of that, not being on stage at the church, just literally sitting in a pew and just being there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, this feels great. This feels fantastic. And then as time passed, I didn't go that following Sunday, and I didn't go the Sunday after that. A couple Sundays passed after that. Didn't go, and yeah, he said, yo, man, they actually called me back. Like, yo, I want to go again. Like, yo, could you come with me? I said, okay, cool. And I go, and it was a great just another great service. Once again, not obligated to do anything. My mom was like, yeah, yo, you got to tell me you play saxophone. I was like, I don't want them to know I play saxophone. I just want to be a person that is in the church right now. I don't even want to, don't know. And yeah, started going there a little bit more frequently. So it wasn't every Sunday, maybe it was every other, maybe like every two. Okay, maybe then take a, so it wasn't like I needed to go each time. Right. Yes. And yeah, it just was great. First time ever really actually paying attention and looking forward to sermons. Because I never was that type of person. It was just, okay, the music, cool. Because I was playing for the music, and then when you are finished playing, you just duck away somewhere else and you just hang for a bit or whatever until you have to go back on. And yeah, just didn't understand the importance of sermons or what they could do, and hearing someone else's perspective on the words that you may have heard all your life and being something different than you think that you would need to hear, and you're like, oh wow, I didn't know I needed to hear that. And yeah, there was one sermon that he had done, and this is Western Ave Baptist, and there's one sermon that he had done, and he was talking about seasons, and I never understood seasons. Like, I would get it, but like everyone say, yeah, the season I'm in, blah 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 blah, and I'd be like, what you mean the season you in? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, what does that even mean for real? Like, what are you saying? That doesn't make sense. And yeah, he was just saying like, yeah, like you'll have different seasons in your life, and your season may not be where you think someone else's season is, or where you think you should be, or all of that. And there were a lot of different things, but just the idea was just very, very clear to me. And since then, it's just been like it's allowed me to be very, like, just once again present in what's happening. Because it's like, I don't always want to identify the season I'm in, because what if I misidentify the season? And your seasons could be like this. God moves very quickly. Things could be like, all right, hey, I'm doing this thing, and now you're doing something completely different. You're one opportunity, one conversation, one decision away from change, from a completely different life, and God moves very quickly like that. So it's like, yeah, I could say, yeah, in this season, I'm just doing this. No, because in 2 minutes after you say that, it could be something completely different.
And the season that depended on him, like the timing of them.
Yes. Yeah.
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 Wow, what a story.
That's
where are you from? Because you said you went to Boston. Are you from New York?
Yes, I'm from New York, yes.
Okay.
Born and raised born in Queens, raised in Baldwin, New York, which is like in Long Island. Yeah, like Nassau County. And I have like a family home in Brooklyn, so like I'm in Brooklyn pretty often. So it's like raised in New York for real, but like so many different parts that I can't not claim also being raised in Brooklyn, because my grandma's house is here, so like I'm here a lot throughout the majority of my childhood. And then I went to school out in Long Island, and then so like back and forth between those two places. And then I go to church in Brooklyn. It's just like, so it's like we're all like it's all over the place. I am born in Queens, raised and like went to the school system in like Long Island and Baldwin, but like I'm also like very much in Brooklyn pretty often, whether that's through shows or just through churches. All my home churches were in Brooklyn also. So it was kind of one of those things where you're always commuting from Long Island to Brooklyn for like the drive and everything. So yeah, so that's like the situation.
I find it so interesting how when I speak to people from New York and they like go into the specifics of like exactly where they're from. And I'm just like, back home in South Africa, when I'm like, I'm from Cape Town,
Right.
I don't necessarily go into like, oh, but this part of Cape Town.
Right.
But I find it so interesting, like New Yorkers are like, wait, let me dissect this to you. So there's Queens, and then there's Brooklyn, and then there's Long Island. And I'm just like, just say you're from New York.
Yeah. The thing about that is, yes, but as New Yorkers, it means so much more because there's like specific things like, and it may not matter because whoever's watching this may not even know
exactly
any of that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's I think it's just I think it's literally just a New York thing. I think we just have to over-explain ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what were you studying in Boston?
What'd you say?
What were you studying in Boston?
So I majored in jazz composition and minored in instrument repair.
And then you went to Berkeley for...
So Berkeley was in Boston. So Berkeley, I went to school in Boston.
Okay.
So that was, went to school in Boston. That was 17 to 21. Quarantine existed. So then...
17 to 21?
2017,
okay.
2021. And then, then was there for only 2 years because quarantine happened. So then I ended up going back home. And then, so staying and just doing half of it online, which is crazy
Music
for how
online?
expensive it was. Yeah, it was wild.
My goodness.
It was not ideal, but we got the degree. So
and that's what matters.
Okay.
You got the degree.
Got the degree. Literally.
So is it accurate for me to assume that you are in your mid-20s or late 20s?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't have to be specific, but like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe the audience is like, I wonder how old Luke is.
Yeah, sure. This is a good question.
So, is it accurate?
Yeah. I'm like 25 as the taping is going. Yes.
Okay. And it's in a relatability point of view, where it's like, okay, if he is 25, and he's doing all these cool things, maybe I should too, or maybe
Facts.
I can too.
You definitely can.
Yeah.
All people can do. There's nothing at all that I'm doing that's impossible.
Yeah. Would you say that it's possible for one to understand music, fall in love with music, and without having to be from a church background? A lot of people who see music and experience music from a deeper level and a deeper sense always have that originating it from, and it doesn't have to be from a PK point of view.
Yeah.
But it's always like, oh, either my mom was in the choir, or I used to sing in the choir, or I used to play an instrument, and that's how it deepens your understanding of music.
Sure. I wouldn't say that it's needed. I'd say it helps.
Okay.
So it definitely helps. But I think, and I've had conversations with people who have no real affiliation with the church, and their ideology on music is really quite powerful also. So it's been like it's been interesting because it's like the tools that you learn within church and just almost the divine connection between music and spirituality, like that merge is very clear and easier to learn in a church setting. Outside of that, I'm sure that there are people who can draw conclusions or think about it and maybe experience it in a different way. And I'm sure they're deepening. I wouldn't say that it's the only way, but it is definitely the best, most influential way, I'd say. Yeah.
But if you put it that way again, if you put it from music and spiritual point of view, and whether we can admit it or not, it is.
Right.
It's one of those practices.
Yeah.
Every culture, every religion, every has an element, some sort of form of musicality.
Right.
Poetry. So we can't hide or kind of shy away from that fact.
Yeah.
But I've always kind of just been like, for me, when I see people who do music, I respect them in a different light.
Yeah.
And I wrote a book in 2019.
Come on, book.
Well.
Get the book.
Get the book. But in the book, I referenced, the book in and of itself is about the concept of purpose and purpose discovery, manifestation, and maximization.
Sure, I like this a lot right now. Keep going.
A very deep book.
Yes.
And I was like 21 when I released it, so I was like,
wow.
What? So I'm talking about deep stuff. But anyway, the book in the book, I mention how I see purpose and understand purpose is from watching musicians.
Okay.
And why I say that is because I think there's this divineness about how a musician is able to source from within them either a melody, a note, a lyric, whatever, to produce this thing outwardly that then is poured out into a group of people or a person or whatever. And whatever that person has created is going to help that individual either go through something, go to something, do something. So ultimately, it impacts the world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
I'm
it's
with
a
you.
responsibility that I always tell, like I always say it as if you're a musician, you have this overarching responsibility of influencing the world.
Wow.
Because the things that you sing, the music that you create helps people connect to God, connect to themselves, connect to each other,
Yes.
connect. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because we don't have celebration without music. We don't have funerals without music. We don't
Right.
have life without music.
Literally.
So the fact that you are in that position to be able to create that for the world, for me, is like the deepest way of connecting to God. It's like you guys have the direct call line. You can like directly call, because God can directly speak to you and you can impact his people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
With all of that. Yeah.
So there's a great weight that is upon you guys as musicians.
Yeah.
And that's why whenever we see stories of musicians who go through a lot of emotional turmoil, and they always say that, you know, the artists are the blessed and cursed because we source from inwardly what we create. So when it is not feeling good, then it weighs on all of you. If you're like an accountant and, you know, the numbers are not doing, you're like, okay, well, it doesn't really change or impact my life. It is what it is. You know what I mean?
Literally.
But if you're an artist, it's not just about things externally. It has a lot to do with things internally.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that? How do you draw from being an artist and having to source internally for everything that you do and everything that you get to produce for the world?
Man, all that was beautifully said, by the way. So, yeah, that was great. I'd say it's a day-by-day thing.
Okay.
So for this project right now that we're releasing, the subject matter was previous relationships.
Yeah.
Now, when writing at the time, it's like kind of hot off of the press, my emotions. And so like, oh man, like, oh, this, you know, able to write it and put it into some sort of context that is pleasing to the ear that other people can relate to, right? Because it has to sound a certain type of way. However, when creating it, there are times where, okay, like, I needed that release. Like, you know, you need them times when someone gets you tight, you need to just journal it out.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, you don't need to, you're not going to publish the journal to, you know what I mean? But, like, for artists, it's that. We're publishing the journals. We are sharing this thing. For me, how to balance it when it comes to performing. So, okay, let me digress for a sec. So when I'm composing stuff, it's coming from like an emotional like place, right? Whether that's inspiration of a certain melody that I have in my head, or maybe on the compositional side, sometimes it could be from an emotional place. Sometimes it could be just a very technical place since I went to school for it. So actually knowing how to do it in a way that's like, oh, like just do this, and then you create a product that's really good. Now on the performance aspect of it, it's the emotional kind of frequency that you have to be on to be able to create this music or perform this music in a way that you want to pay homage to whoever created it. So if I want to pay homage to whoever created it, and that being me, I need to make sure that I'm in a certain area and place in mind emotionally and a frequency that allows me to be to that arena. There's a certain song on the project. It's called Clouds, and this specific song is to kind of discuss and kind of like go through the motions of like when you're in a depressive episode, or when you don't really necessarily know like why you're not okay, but you know that you're not okay. So it may not have the right words for it. It may not be like, oh, I could kind of explain it, but I'm angry and sad, but then I'm also confused as to why I'm angry or sad right now. I don't have all the answers right now. I'm just not feeling it. And for me to play that music and to be able to make sure that that emotion is there. I'm saying I have to be depressed, but it just have to, there's a certain part of me that I have to tap into to make sure that I'm doing the music justice. And going there is very, very specific and very authentic, if you will. What'd you say?
Is there a technique to keep going back there?
I'd say I just have to really remember. It's at a point right now where the music itself will get me there. There's a time that it takes time to get to that spot. Like, there's been times where I've played it for different shows, and it's been like, okay, like, I know I'm not where I need to be yet. But as we go through the song, I'll start getting there. You'll hear on the project, the song, I actually don't come in until like at least like 2 minutes or so until the song. Until the song is nothing. Like, I don't play saxophone at all until that point. And the reason why there's like a gap there if there's no saxophone, like, why are you not playing? Because this is your song. You should be playing your song. The reason why I'm not playing is because I'm actually praying that I do justice to this and that I'm able to be in the spot where, hey, like, I am present and I can really give this my all to be able to present this music, and so that whoever needs it can get there.
Yeah.
And that recording of that song was very real, and a lot of people afterward were saying, hey, like, I like literally cried, and I hadn't cried in years prior to.
How do you feel when people say that to you? That you made me feel something. It could be crying, it could be happiness, it could be any emotion, but how does that make you feel?
Man, it makes me feel like this is really so much bigger than me. Like it makes it all worth it. The process to be able to release stuff, the process to be able to even perform, the process to be the independent artist, the process to do all the stuff and not have like a team yet, at least to the highest extent that you know that you could, or at least as you're on the process of working of that. It makes me feel, man, like, man, like, needed. It makes me feel like, yo, like, yeah, like you're doing something that matters. And in doing something that matters, it really kind of puts you in a spot where you're like, oh, okay, like, then I guess we're going to just keep going. And yeah, we're just going to keep going then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you guys help us get through things, and the question I always have is what helps you guys get through things, you know? How do we then, as an audience, as people listening, watching, experiencing what you're sharing with us, which took a lot out of you?
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine having to be so vulnerable, talking about your breakups and sharing those experiences through what it is that you get to put out into the world. It takes a bit of vulnerability to some degree.
Sure.
Everyone's in your business now.
Literally.
But that vulnerability in of itself is what we get to see. So how do we get to pour that back into you guys as the artists? Have you ever thought about what you as an artist would require back from an audience, from people that will help you even extend that feeling of feeling needed and wanted, and your gift being well received? We started deep, so I'm gonna be deep the entire way.
I'm enjoying this. This is fantastic. Okay, man, the thing that's coming to mind is obviously like finances and money.
Yeah.
Right. However, one of the bigger things that I've always like wanted around my music is like really a community of people. If you come to my show, talk to someone you don't know, so that when the next one comes, you have friends already innately in there that are going to be at the next show too. And so I want that type of thing. So it helps me in that regard. Obviously, once again, finances, buying merchandise, like that type of thing. And I'm also working on my relationship with money as an artist. All of that are things that I'm actively working on. But when it comes to what I would really want as far as getting poured back into, I think for a lot of artists, the options are pretty limited, right? And they're pretty common, as we all have heard, storylines of people, you know, obviously doing other things to have the release that they're looking for. And I think from an audience perspective, I think just being present, man, and making sure that the music making sure you get to the shows on time, and making sure that you're present, and like
That's good.
just being there and really being there and leaving all maybe whatever you got going on at the door and allowing the music to really help and heal you, or even bringing in all the bad stuff too. And when the music starts, let yourself be there and let the music do what it does, which is heal. And yeah.
You mentioned being pouring back into your cup as well, because a lot of what you do is pouring out. It's pouring out of yourself, not just your ideas, but pouring out of yourself physically as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the topic again that's spoken a lot about in the industry is like mental health, taking care of yourself, looking after yourself.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that you are there for you as well, outside of everyone else pouring into you and you pouring out to them, but you are present for you as well?
I'd say my friendships, they mean a lot to me. Yeah. I'm very grateful for the people that God has placed in my life, man. Friendships really help. And it's difficult to maintain them when everyone has things going on. Friendship's a big part of it. Also on the physical side, like running, I really like running. Reading books as well.
What are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Okay.
Are you hip to this book?
No.
Okay, word. So I mainly read like books on like improvement and like self-help books. Yeah.
Okay.
And those type of things. I want to definitely get into like things that aren't so serious, like just reading some
so
leisurely stuff.
Look at deep and Luke are like intertwined. Not so deep. Like read like a romance novel.
Yes. I'm thinking about it. I really should. If you have any recommendations, leave them in the comments or just let me know, because I really truly want to get into other parts of literature that aren't so serious or like, But
have you read The Practice?
What's that?
The Practice.
No.
Okay. Seth Godin. Anyway.
Okay. But yeah, so to reading is cool, and just like taking walks outside is cool. I like summer a lot. I like spring a lot, aside from the allergy. So I'm actually not outside at all. You
like it, but you can't be outside.
Yeah. So I like it from a distance.
Okay. You just not being cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so I say those things. But yeah, friendships, being around people. I think and family as well. Just kind of like making sure that I have places and safe spaces to not be anyone else but myself. Not to say that I'm in other places being someone I'm not, but just hey, like we're here, like being cool with just being here and not having to worry about just maybe what your actions may mean to the deacons or whatever.
Yeah. Not the deacons. That's funny. I was gonna say like always being on stage, and the whole idea of how I see a stage is it's a raised platform. So when something is even from an eye level at a slightly higher position,
right,
that subconsciously raises your positioning in that environment. So people see you in a hierarchical point of view.
Yes.
So when you're constantly in a space like that where you are raised, you're praised, you're elevated, you sometimes do just want to be yourself. Yeah. And not Luke Waldron. Right. Because Luke Waldron, to some people, is a guy that's elevated. Right. Do you know what I mean? So yes. I hear that. I hear what you're saying about safety. Yeah. And that being in the confines of where you can just be yourself. Yeah. Outside of that stage.
Yeah, and I'd say also to like a lot of creatives too, where it comes to like, even how you just said it, and some people you may be like that person. Yeah. And I think for a long time, me believing that was hard to do, or me having the ability to even think that quitting is an option also was a part of this too, because I'd be like, oh, I could just be like, I won't release this because it's not perfect, or I won't do this because it's not perfect, right? Mm-hmm. If it's not this thing, like these perfectionist ideologies that lead to nothing almost, or inaction rather. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you can not do it. But then again, there's people assigned to you. And if there's people who are looking up to you at this point, you kind of can't let them down. And even if you may not have 100 million followers at this point, you may not have, like, those things may not be a reality. And even if it is a reality, obviously you're able to see it every day on your social medias or people reaching out to you, all that stuff. But especially if you're on the come up or whatever that come up may look like. Everyone's on the come up, obviously, right? So the definition of success is obviously specific for each person. But still, like, when you're trying to figure out what it is that you're doing, or at least you know that you're supposed to do, especially in music, man, walking in there and being like, yeah, no, I actually kind of have to do this. Like, I actually don't have the choice to not show up. I don't have the choice to be like, maybe later, because there's people that really do need your music and do really need whatever your craft is, or need your mind, need whatever you offer. And yeah, like they need to hear you. And for you to disqualify yourself because you don't think that they exist, or maybe not enough of them exist, that's crazy. That's crazy when you think of it like that. Because then you're like, oh, because it's not this amount of people, or it's not this amount, or it's not this person, or this person doesn't think. Versus, how about the people that do think?
Yeah.
How many, and even those people, if it's one person, it's proof that it could be increased, Just because it's where you're at now doesn't mean that's where you'll always be. So, yeah.
I think that's such a not popular way of how we as this current generation kind of think.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean one person or a group of people are enough? And what do you mean that those could ripple effect more? Right. Because what we know now is like, how many followers do you have?
Yeah.
How many, you know what I mean? That's the currency that we exist in. But hearing your perspective now, it's I think that's very interesting.
Yeah. Because how you treat the one is how you're going to treat the 1 million too.
And also, I think like that's what you learn in the church as well. Some sort of those principles,
right,
of just being like, you can't, and on a Sunday, just because there's like 5 people that came to church that Sunday, you're going to perform less.
Right.
Because the Holy Spirit can come, whether there's 1 or 1,000.
Right.
The Holy Spirit needs to be there. So you must do what you got to do. Yeah. So I think those principles are somehow embedded slightly, from those principles that you get to learn.
1,000%. But even if on a practical level too, say like the church is empty physically, there could be so many people watching it virtually. Sure. Like they usually don't even have, those could be massively different. Yeah. And also even on platforms like social media, like you could be 20 views on one video and the next one could go viral, and then now you have all of these people in your life. So to wait for that stuff to happen is crazy, because that drunk can happen at any point. You know what I mean? It's like very common how normal that would be. And I'm not saying make content with the expectation for that to occur, but make it with the preparation for that to be the case. Yeah. Because like you got to prepare for what you're asking God for, right? If you're like, oh, I want to get all these followers or whatever, but if you're not taking care of the 300 that you got right now, man, if you're not making sure that they're updated with what you have going on, are you monitoring your community? Are you helping them make sure that they're hip to what you're doing? Are you sending messages to them that they know that you exist? Like, as we know, the algorithm is weird, so you could be posting every day and your followers will not see it. Like, it just won't be there because they're liking other stuff, or they don't know that you have new stuff out. So you gotta do the work to get out there to, and if you're not gonna do that for the 300 followers you have right now, who you feel like isn't enough, you're trying to wait till the 10K, and it's like, okay, well, when you get 10K, bro, you ain't gonna, you don't even have the 300. You can't control the 300 that you have under you right now, or at least influenced by you.
It's funny. I'm just like, I wonder what the people in the Bible, like the Peters and the Pauls, are thinking is our prayers now are like, God, I want more followers.
Literally, I was trying not to die.
More followers. You're like, what? I'm sure God's sitting there like, what? You want more followers on Instagram? Like that? Is that a prayer?
I prayed to make sure that I don't get killed today by Saul, said David. You're wilding. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's asking God, hey, please don't let Saul kill me today. Like
Let
please.
the song kill me? What do you mean?
Saul, like, don't let Saul kill me. David is saying,
yeah,
don't let
it's
Saul
like,
kill me.
like,
It is very,
God,
I don't want to die, so please
the
help me.
Midianites are coming, God, like, like deep stuff, like serious stuff, like Esther praying about Haman killing her tribe, and we out here being like, God, I want more
So
followers.
Followers would be great. Like, hey, I don't ask for much,
I need
God.
10,000 in a month.
I need 10,000 though. I need that 10,000. Oh man.
I'm sure they are just like, nah, these ones, they, God, give them a flood or something, because at this point they need, they need some serious challenges.
Literally, yeah. We need something that actually,
Like serious. Anyway, that was a digression.
It's weird. It's definitely like, okay, well, yeah, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't ask for that. God, you're right. My bad. You're right. I shouldn't. That's not valid enough of a prayer. Yeah.
Oh man. Or maybe like, yeah, God, which platform should I go for? Should I be more on TikTok or should I be on YouTube? And then that's the wisdom we need now. Like, God, which platform should I focus on? LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
God's like, okay, my child.
Like this
TikTok is your platform.
Like he'll answer, and that's why God is so great. Like he will literally be like, okay, like this one. This one is this one. Yeah. That's hilarious.
No, we love God.
He
understands us
he
as
understands.
well. He gets
understands.
it.
She was like, yeah, even if I wrote this Bible for the principles and maybe even some clarities, it was just a different time. And it was a different time.
Yeah.
There was different focuses.
Yep.
They didn't have phones.
Mm-hmm.
These things just didn't exist, But I think there's still power once again in seeking wisdom, right? Seeking God. Hey, that's a great prayer, man. If you're out there praying or trying to be, do it right, God's way, hey, ask him, hey, where should I be at for real? Like, how many times should I post today? Like, there's some people saying that, like, in comparison, it sounds crazy. Okay, in comparison to, other people, in comparison to what everyone else is doing, or comparison to what it was in the Bible, obviously that sounds crazy, Yeah. But still, yeah.
That's in essence, that's what wisdom is. It's like in this time, what makes sense. But I want to get back into the second part of our initial thing before we went on this tangent.
Yeah.
Was the multiplicity in music, because we've gone to this point because we're talking about the multiplicity as you as a human, as a person. But now in music,
yes.
I've known you to play the saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
I go on your Instagram randomly because I stalk my guests sometimes.
Cool.
And I hear you singing.
Yes.
And I'm just like, wait, rewind.
Yeah.
What more can this guy do? So what is this multiplicity that you've got from a musical perspective?
Yeah, so the singing aspect of my musicianship was something that I knew would probably be a part of it in some way, shape, or form, simply because I know that lyrics can connect with people in a deeper way to some degree. I do believe solely also in the power of saxophone and just music, just being instrumental music, and you not being almost limited by the lyrics that are given. Because then now you only have to feel this, because I'm literally speaking and saying, hey, this is what you're supposed to feel. However, there were certain times where I was like, yo, I would have this kind of melody thing, and I would be like really having this composition. It's like, yo, like, let me think about lyrics. Or there'd be times when I would like kind of have a tune in my head, and I would be like, oh, or this is a better singing one than maybe a playing one when I'm playing, and looking at it in like a composition side of things. So the singing thing has definitely been something that I knew would be a part of the artistic like profile, I guess, of how I would write my music. But I think it's definitely doing a lot more singing in this one than I did in the last project, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you can play the saxophone, you can sing. What else do you play?
Yeah, I play piano. I also play keys as well. And just like also the composition side of things. So like actually producing most of it. So a lot of the projects that you'll listen to is like stuff that I've literally created as far as producing. So like actually making it. I don't like necessarily play drums, but being able to like create the drum tracks, being able to create, okay, cool, this is what I want this to sound like. Mm-hmm. So I play a lot of instruments, but it's just like obviously I guess it would be looked at more as like producing or beat making if someone from the outside looking in would be looking at. Yeah.
And when did you know how to sing? Or if it's always just been.
Yeah, church, man, just you're not if you're a kid in church, there's no way you're not singing. You know what I
Fair.
mean? Like so it's kinda like the whole children's choir realm of things, the youth groups,
Yeah.
all of that was really the main the starting point for it. And then singing as far as my own music, I'd say it was definitely after college, I'd say, when I was actually recording things where I was putting my vocal onto it. Yeah, so I'd say like after college is when I started singing in my own music. Yeah.
Interesting. So, but you've always known how to, you've always considered yourself as someone who can sing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what led you to picking up the saxophone? I mean, there's, as you said, there's so many instruments.
Yeah.
What?
This is a great origin story. So so in like fourth grade, you get to choose if you're like in the States, and that's like the basis of like your ideology. When you're going through elementary school, you usually get started around like third or fourth grade. So in third grade, I started like learning violin. There's something called the Suzuki program. Now, you think, oh yeah, wow, violin. Violin sounds so bad unless you're good at it. Oh my goodness. It's just such a yeah, that's so
Finicky? Do you use the word finicky in the US?
yeah,
Finicky?
that's good. Finicky is cool.
Okay.
Finicky is cool.
I'd
Kind of
so-
like
yeah.
like nails on a chalkboard type
Yeah.
situation.
Very
Just, you know,
sensitive.
yeah, it's a very great learning curve. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this is good, and I definitely got good at it. Was able to perform and everything, which is cool. I just didn't really grab me much. So then in fourth grade,
Also, just how you hold the violin.
yeah, it's like a whole it's like a different
Yeah.
thing, and
You just
it's
stand
weird.
there, just
Yeah.
and it looks heavy. Some of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, then in fourth grade, you get to choose like an instrument that you want to play, because you could be either in band or orchestra. I chose band, and yeah.
Please explain the difference.
So orchestra is like stringed instruments, so like violin, double bass, viola, cello, those type of things. So like any of those stringed this type of thing, or like this type of thing. And then band would be like saxophone, trumpet, tuba. What other instruments would be in the band? Percussion as well. So it would be more. It's like just different instrumentations. There's just two different groupings of instruments, but it's the same ideology. Where like there's a group of band, like a band, an orchestra. Orchestra is stringed instruments. Band is more like brass and woodwinds.
Got it. So you chose the band music. Okay.
And through brass and woodwinds, you get to choose like you have like a top 5 type of thing. And yeah, saxophone was my number one choice. Not for any particular reason. Like I don't have a crazy origin story.
You didn't see someone play it at church maybe, and you liked it? Okay.
No, none of that was really the vibe. My parents do say that my grandma was playing records when I was younger, so like it was often that we were listening to like records in the house. So there was a good chance that may have maybe subconsciously got my attention.
Makes sense.
But I wouldn't say that, at least right now, according to my memory, as of today. And I don't think I was like, oh man, like, yeah, I gotta play the saxophone, per se. But I just was able to really get started in it, and parents were down to be able to have me get private lessons fairly early as well. So taking the private lessons kind of helped me to be like, okay, like, I'm starting to see like what this really looks like. And it just started to become a thing that I was really, really intrigued by, and listening to like a lot of great records and being able to see people play. And then the opportunities I was given fairly early on within the church and through different churches to play at different places as well, that was really great. And then, just going through that process and really seeing the impact that it has, it was like, oh yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Like this is it.
And it was in that moment where you decided that this would be the instrument that I hold on to.
Yeah. So I skipped this whole step. So pretty much like you have to submit your top 5 choices of your instruments.
You make 5 and then you have to do all of them?
No. Like you write down 5.
Oh,
So
okay.
like you're sitting in class, And you have like a band class or orchestra class, and they're like, okay, cool, you get to choose your instruments today, and then you write down 5 instruments that you would want to play, and then they say, okay, this is what a saxophone looks like,
Oh, okay.
this is what a trumpet looks like that type of thing, and it's like, okay, cool, then you just choose your top 5, write that down, and then yeah, so my first choice was saxophone,
Got it.
and then my music teacher gave me my first choice, so that was cool. Other people had to do their second choices or their third choices, so like it could have been any of those
Anyone,
instruments,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it really wasn't really super specific, but she took a liking to me. She figured I was going to be like really serious about it or whatever. So she said, yeah, I got you your first choice. That's cool. Shout out Miss Holleran. Okay. Shout out to you.
Howard.
No, Hollerand.
Hollerand.
Yeah.
Hollerand.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Ah.
Okay, so then you pick it up. It becomes an instrument. It is what you then continue to expand your knowledge in. And as you're learning more about it, what are you discovering about the saxophone? What are you learning about it as an instrument, as stuff that you might have not if you didn't delve into it that much in depth?
How reeds taste?
How what?
Reeds.
What is reed?
So how a saxophone works is that there's like a mouthpiece, which is like a black piece. And in order for like sound to be created, there's like something called a reed. And so it's like a piece of wood that we pretty much put onto the mouthpiece. I have no idea if you could.
Yeah, we can see.
This type of thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then so this would be the mouthpiece. This is the black part. It could be any color actually. But this is the mouthpiece, and you put your reed here. And how sound is made is that this reed vibrates.
Oh.
So as the air pushes through the rest of the horn, that's how like noise is made from the saxophone. So the reeds itself, you have to like actually like wet them with your spit and like with your mouth and like your saliva, etc. So that it's like actually moist enough to be able to vibrate.
Yeah.
When it vibrates, it creates a sound that goes to the horn.
And what we hear, what is so then you also press stuff, right?
So the sound that goes through initially is coming, okay, so this is the mouthpiece and reed situation. So the mouthpiece, when you blow air into it, the reed vibrates. Sound comes down through the saxophone like this. Now, the buttons that you see somebody press, or whether they're pressing this button, is actually stopping the air at that
so
button.
that a particular sound is released.
Yep, and that's where the notes start to come in. So, like, depending on what notes that you play, depending on what buttons you press on the saxophone, it creates different notes because it makes the air travel differently because it closes certain holes, if you will, and then that creates different sounds.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And how much breathing are you? I always want, like, that's always my.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you?
Yeah, so similar. It's very similar
you-
to singing as far as how much you need to like
Okay.
support your air. So
Got it.
we also engage our diaphragm. That's also a part of it. If you're doing it right, you engage your diaphragm, and yeah, it's a lot of air. So like, you're holding it out for extended periods of time, and you'll see like quick breaths that happen throughout because you may not see the breath that happens, but it's pretty fast when it does. And yeah, depending on what you're playing or how long you're playing it for, and you just kind of increase your breath capacity to be able to hold out notes for longer. That's like a muscle also that you do, and just being able to learn how to like maneuver your air in a certain type of way, so that you're not overblowing or
Overblowing, you said.
yeah, because there's a way where you would use too much air at certain times, and so that would kind of like make the sound not as clean as it could be. Yeah, so it's a lot of air being used for sure. It's a lot of air.
I would say that the saxophone is one of the instruments that, as a listener, is the closest that I hear to someone's actual voice.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
you wouldn't, if there was just a saxophone and someone singing, those two would be the closest to each other than
Sure.
any other instrument.
Yeah, everything else has like a certain, like the word for that is like timbre, which
Timbre,
pretty
okay.
much is kind of like pretty much how it sounds, like how it would approach versus the other things. I'm sure that that's probably not the exact definition, so feel free to look up the definition of timbre, but I'm just going to tell you what I mean whenever it's being used. Like a trumpet has a certain timbre to it. It sounds like a trumpet, right? And similar to how you're saying, where a saxophone sounds like a vocal instrument, or it sounds like just a vocal. And it is very, very close. Like usually it's like, that's why like melodies and stuff like that usually are played by saxophonists and not other instruments as often. And yeah, it's known how close to those things are, and it helps very much so as far as like just my approaches on composition and everything like that too. So it's cool. Yeah.
And after having after learning the saxophone for you, how often do you keep practicing?
Oh, every day.
Really?
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
To what? To enhance your technique?
To maintain and enhance.
Okay.
So it's a maintenance thing. Like, yeah, it's maintenance. Because, like, let's say, okay, I don't touch the instrument today, or say I practiced today, right? And I don't practice for like 2 weeks from now. I'm at a point now where it wouldn't be super effective for me. It wouldn't be a super, let me not say effective. It wouldn't be so,
I will take effective.
yeah, maybe detrimental rather.
Okay.
To my ability to play moving forward. Let's say I don't pick up the horn for the next 2 weeks because life be life, and and I'm busy or whatever. Then it'll be a lot harder to get back on it those 2 weeks, like after those 2 weeks to get back to play, because it'll be like, oh man, I gotta like relearn a lot more to pretty much learn where my mouth needs to go, because these are all like muscles that exist. So like if you're not using them, they'll kind of just weaken.
Yeah.
And so you're enhancing your technique on playing and everything, but also really just keeping your like mouth and embouchure like where you need it to be, so that when you go and play, it sounds like how you want it to sound, not like this other version of things.
Yeah.
Now there are days where you definitely do take days off and things like that. Like I'm not saying like you have to do it every single day, but I do it every single day, and it's made it be like varying times of like how long I'll be able to practice for. But I definitely touch the horn every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
We call it the horn.
Yes.
And what would you say? How then? What is the importance of practicing, training, and how does that differentiate from talent? Can one say, "Oh, well, this is my talent"? So it's like singing. Like I'm born a singer. I don't have to. You extended it and went as far as going to school for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So how do you see that training, practice? So training is being one thing where you go and acquire that skill, and then practicing being the continuous action of pursuing the skill.
Yeah.
So what is the importance of those two beyond just the talent? Or talent doesn't even matter because you can just learn it and know it.
I'd say talent will get you in the door.
Is it even talent though in an instrumental type of setup? Because you can't just as a 10-year-old just I don't know, get on the keys and just play without having to be taught.
Yeah.
So is that?
So there's there's two things we need to define.
Yes.
Playing ability and then feel ability.
Which is where you said the talent is.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are certain things, I don't want to say there's certain things you can't teach. We just have to like learn over time. But there's certain things when it comes to feel, as far as, okay, cool, like you know that someone is an amateur or someone is a professional. And that's a feel difference. Now, some people have a talent where they're able to tap into that a lot faster. And they tend to get there and be able to actualize that a little bit more. Now, when it comes to like practicing and maintaining things, I think talent will get you into the room, but practice will keep you in the room and get you into the next ones. So I'd say that both exist. I would say that you wouldn't necessarily put yourself in a position where, okay, I have talent, so therefore I'm going to get there. Talent is almost implying that there's like entitlement almost to you that you deserve to be in this whatever, like, audition, you deserve to get to this outcome or whatever. But whether or not that's really, that's not really something to base yourself off of. You want to base off of your like habits. Okay, how many times are you practicing? Okay, because then even when the talent isn't there, you could still practice and outwork those people who do have the talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to wait for that to pass. So basically, in hindsight, one could say that they're born with the talent of being an excellent musician or being a musician. right? And however, to be a great musician or to be a good musician, you need to upskill and then maintain.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd say that. Yes.
got it. I want to get into the project now.
Cool.
I'm excited about it.
Me too.
So you mentioned earlier on the title. Just repeat that again for us.
It's called The Love Suite.
The Love Suite.
A Love Suite.
Oh, A Love Suite.
Yeah.
You said it's kind of like a love. Explain it.
Yeah,
in your
so
own
it's
words.
it's like it's kind of like you going through the motions of what love is. And so like that could be in a romantic state, but also on a friendship love too. Nobody talks about them friendship loves though. Those don't that's like a whole
Them agape loves.
Yeah, yes. It's like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody talks about those things, but they should.
Yeah.
They really should. But yeah, so it kind of just goes through the storylines of love and maybe potentially loss of that love, and then also what happens after loss, and how at the end of the day you will always be able to pick yourself back up, man. Like it won't always be this like, no, like this is terrible, or you know, or this is really low for me. It's kind of like, oh, like yeah, it'll be that way, but then you could keep going. Yeah.
And for context, if you are able to share, like
Sure.
it's for an experience to have an album as an outcome of it means it must have been quite a heavy one. Because so you don't have to share the details. But I feel like there's a story behind
Yeah.
this, you know, and you can kind of be broad and general about it, but
Yeah.
like, why do you feel like it was necessary to have to even go out with this line of storytelling and putting it out? There's something like, what happened?
Sure. Good question. Okay, pretty much I really wanted a certain outcome to happen for me, and that not happening, disappointment, frustration, all of that was very like, man, this really sucks a lot. And I'd be lying if not each song is based off of this one experience, but it all kind of motivated the togetherness of it all.
Got it.
Yeah. So I'd say that. I'd say just the maybe I guess rejection element of things, or maybe even expectations of how you expected the other person to react toward something that you do, or just I'm being specific with the emotion because I know that it's not like me saying, okay, what happened is like, that's not the point. The point is how it made me feel and how you, listeners, should also feel while listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get your heart broken.
Yes.
That's a relatable feeling.
You're right.
So anyone who hears this and might be in that similar positioning, hearing that there's a backstory to that will maybe
fine.
bring
Okay.
them a lot more
I'm
comfort.
gonna give this information. You're so funny at this. This is like so hilarious. How you're like, okay, yes, okay, word. So here's essentially what happened. Through each song, there are reasons for their existence. Now, they all weren't written at the same time. The ideology isn't that this was a project that was, oh man, this happened, and then now I'm writing about it. For like maybe 3 out of the 7 songs, it's like that. So we'll talk about the 3 out of the 7.
Okay.
Yes, there's one called The Best, and this one is, it starts out very slow and sad because at this time I was like, man, in the time of the relationship, what was happening was, it was kind of like, you ever get to the point where in a relationship and you're like, hey, actually, like, I know that there's a better version of this that exists.
Out there.
No. That in here, that I don't really have the capacity to give.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Cool. Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
the 3 songs in the album, in the project.
All right. here we go. So it's going to start off with clouds first. And actually, okay, really the last four in this record. So the first one is Never Stop in this. And
That's the one that
was the
was
first
the
single.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the one we heard.
And okay, so this was a time when I was like, man, I just don't. Here's the thing about this that I've seen like other artists mainly do, right? And they share this and these really, personal situations, right? Which I'm not anti-doing. Yeah, it's just interesting, just how it's like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna just talk about all this, like,
But the thing is, you don't have to get into the depth of the experience because that's your business, right?
Yes.
But it's I know why he wrote the song.
Got you. Sure. So
So the
storyline around it is Never Stop, and so it's saying like, okay, I'll never stop loving you, right? And honestly, I don't think I ever can stop, right? But I can't afford to let you in again, right? So that's clear, right? Because, hey, this feeling, right, after I guess this could be like post-breakup storyline where you're like, oh, man, I literally will never stop, loving you, because it's very, very new, right? It's also pretty, very new. And it's like, oh, man, I literally will never stop being able to do this.
Yeah.
And, not being able to also afford to let them in the same way that you did before, even if you still have love for them. Right. So that's kind of the basis of that one, and it discusses that. Okay, hey, yeah. So you'll never stop loving the person, but, kind of can't afford to give you that access again, homie. Sorry about that. No. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Not a thing.
So that's track number 1.
That's track number 4.
Track
so
number
this is the
4.
second
Okay.
half of the album.
Yeah.
The next one after that is called The Best, and this is track number 5. Yeah, and this one is what we were talking about, where it's like, the verse starts off with I don't want to give you what's left of my heart. I want to give you the best.
Oh my God! Look.
Yeah.
There's so much. I feel for your heart right now.
This is good.
These lyrics. I'm
yeah,
like, oh
it's
my God.
really, really deep in there. Yeah, it's really, really deep. And so it's like, yeah, because you could be in a spot with a relationship where you want to give them the best that you can.
Yeah.
And maybe you may not be in a spot to be okay in a relationship. Maybe you have to deal with your past traumas or whatever, and you know that these things are holding you back from being present in the current one, right? So I guess this storyline was more of all right, you're out of a relationship, and you want to go into the next one, and you find someone who you really, really like. You're like, this, yeah. But you're not able to be present in the relationship, or you're too focused on all the things that are happening in the last one. You could not be with the other person, but you're emotionally still in that position. So you don't want to give the new person what's left of your heart. You want to give them the best. And that's a real thing, being able to be transparent enough to be like, hey, I want to give you the best I can, but I just can't right now, So, yeah. And, so it starts off really, 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 really slow. But then it gets better. It gets more interesting. Yeah. So that's that one.
Track 5. What's track 6?
6 is called Bittersweet.
Oh.
These are really on the nose, right? Yeah, it's hilarious. This is Bittersweet, and this is a song with it's just a sax and guitar. And the whole ideology is this one is kind of it's sweet in its melody. It's oh, wow, I could sing this. This sounds sweet. But the composition underneath it and the harmonies and stuff are a little bit more going on. It's in this odd meter time. And so pretty much what that means, it's not just in regular 4/4. It's kind of this just feels weird. And it feels weird because it's oh, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet when you go back to your ex. It's bittersweet when these things happen, when you're oh, yeah, I mean, I may have broken up with this person for me, but now I'm like, I mean, it's sweet because I'm no longer with that person, but now I'm bitter because I'm, alone, right? So these things of like, oh, wow, like, this is good, like, And so in the music, I'm like, we're essentially trying to, like, replicate that. And then track 7, the final track, probably in hindsight, we probably should have went from the beginning of this, but track 7, in hindsight, yeah. So track 7, final track, is called H Street.
H Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's H as in like the letter, not like 8 as in, because they sound similar. I was told how I pronounce it. So H, yeah.
Okay.
H Street. And this one, I had like the song in my head for a while, and this was one of those situations where I like had like it was almost like a snappy, oh, this is exactly how the song should go. And it's very much like just kind of like more of like a feel good type of thing to be like, you're gonna be okay, bro. Like everything, you're really gonna be cool. Like it's really okay. Like you're really gonna be good, and like you'll.
So this
be
is
all right.
like post breakup. The last one is more of like, okay, wrapping it up. The breakup is done. You're moving forward. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And then 1 to 3.
Sure. So 1 is hop stop. So this is honeymoon phase, baby. Okay. we are here. It's a very high energy song.
So exciting.
It's a very high energy song. Very much like, okay, yeah, like we here, like And the second one is I See You, which is also very high. Like like this is you play this when you with your boo in a car. Okay, you were locked in. You were like windows down, whatever. Like ooh, like okay, cool.
Yeah.
And this is at the point. These are all honeymoon phase. So the first one is just all instrumentation. So there's no like lyrics or whatever. And I See You is actually a song that I released on my first project. And this is like the live version of it, which is cool.
Oh.
So but yeah, so that's more like okay, like the lyrics in that one is like I see you standing there, and my thoughts and my prayers. It's like when you really feeling somebody, like you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like you really thinking about them, like you try not to, but they're in there. They're in your.
It's funny how that works. It's like God just made it in a way where it's like your brain and your heart. Then there's like electricity.
All of that. All of that's going on. So it's a song talking about that, literally.
Yeah.
And then Clouds is the one where it starts to take a dark turn, and that could be even in a state where kind of the storyline is like you're okay in the relationship, but you're not okay. Like you're not okay internally, and it may not be because the other person did anything wrong. It could just be it is what it is. And that's a hard pill to swallow as well, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you are like you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're like almost sabotaging a really good thing just because you don't have your things together.
Yeah.
So go to therapy. Go to therapy.
And listen to the album.
Therapy and listen to the album. Listen to the album first, and then go to therapy.
And then go to therapy.
Yes.
If you were to put a ribbon tie to like the entire project, one word to just like explain, describe it, or maybe a sentence or phrase that like, because right now we had like a full-on dialogue about it, but if you were to kind of put a word over it, what would that be?
I'd say that love is a journey, not a destination.
Yeah. That's that is the journey. You shared the journey with us of like the different tracks.
Yeah.
Were the tracks placed on the project by the journey that you went through specifically, or it was kind of like?
So it's in the order. It's in the order of how it kind of went down.
Got it.
It was also in the order. It's not in the order of composed, but just like how I compose them. I didn't compose it in that order, but the way that it's structured is exactly how. Yeah. So it's more like you sit down, okay, and you listen to the whole album, okay. You sit down and listen to the whole album.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing. Yeah.
And hear the journey. So how long was the writing process for the whole, the writing and then also the whole project, like the time it took for you to put it
writing, I'd say that joint took like maybe, to get all the music done, I'd say it was maybe like 3 months.
Oh, okay.
3 months.
Wait, so this situation was over 3 months?
No. This is me. This is So I had written some of these while it was happening. So the last 4 that we went over, those are all like during and after the relationship type of thing.
But the relationship was not in that 3 months. The relationship was before that 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I either had the ability to, because in the 3 months is not within the like year time that it took. So 3 months of writing, meaning like, okay, all that stuff was occurring, and I like was able to write some of them or having some of the ideas of how I wanted it to be. Then actually coming back into it and like actually locking in to write it in a way that like is actually like for other people to hear. That took 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, the relationships that caused it up to the point were all like throughout time in general. So it's not just this. Wasn't a specific.
So one girl is
person.
sitting there thinking, "Look, he's talking
about me." Yeah, no, that one girl's not thinking. It's not just you. No, it's
you know
not.
who you are.
Please do not do this. Okay.
I'm sorry. That's on me. That is so on me.
That is like the cringiest thing. I think. Oh my gosh.
It's on me. I'll take that.
That's hilarious. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy talk. That's usually that's always a weird thing of like how specific and how like direct you want to be about the things. Yeah, I'm more on the mysterious tip for sure. Yeah, so 3 months as far as actually like writing pen to paper, like orchestrating it, that type of thing. And then it took, I'd say, like over about a year or so for this post-production realm of things. We have like this really dope video of it, and yeah, you'll see it should be not sure, by the time this airs, it should definitely be on YouTube, so you'll be able to see at least for Never Stop, like the single, for sure you'll be able to see that whole video, which is cool. And it was all like a live recording, so between that, actually getting the videos edited was a process. Shout out to my brother. He's like a great videographer. He like does this.
Brother?
Yeah, actual brother. Yeah. And he does that, and he like came up from Florida and everything to do it. So I appreciate him coming through. And also,
as well, just jab along.
Good. Yeah.
That was so funny. That's how you know he's a musician, because he literally just stopped talking and he was just like jamming to the music.
Yeah. Yeah, and then good friend of mine, Gardy, and they just came through and was able to do the video for it, and it looks really cool and edit it and everything. So that's really exciting. So it's like it definitely, that was a process, and then the music itself, getting it mixed, was a process, a very, very long process. Shout out to Kwame. He actually mixed the whole project. Yeah, shout out to that. And shout out to Genghis for mastering it. And so that was a whole process in itself, and I just learned so much through this process, like about how to actually put the record together, what the budget for these type of things actually is. I think it's my mindset where I'm like, okay, cool, how much is this going to cost? Okay, cool, so let me just go ahead and make that, and I'll be right back, type of thing. But when you're trying to do something like this and take a project on of this magnitude, it's definitely a conversation to be like, okay, cool, here's my actual budget. Like, here's where I'm at right now. Here's where I could actually put into this. And, yeah, figuring that out, because now I know what the ballpark of how much stuff like this will cost. Yeah. So just learned a lot. Yeah.
And you said you're independent, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine the amount, not just like from a monetary point of view, but just the amount of everything. You just mentioned now, like there's so many things to factor in. Yeah. Which is a lot. How do you feel now? Are you breathing? Are you feeling sigh of relief? The full album hasn't come out.
Not yet.
But with all of those things having been done, and how do you feel?
Man. Honestly, I don't know.
That's okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I know that it's not a giant sigh of relief.
Okay.
So I know that that's maybe the politically correct answer, but that's not necessarily how I would say I would feel. I'd say I'm aware of the work that I put in for it, and I'm actively fighting the weapons that are formed against me to make me think that what I did wasn't good enough.
I like that because they are weapons. And making you feel that way will disseminate the entirety of the whole.
Right. And that's why, once again, on a podcast, why would I even state that? Why I should say the confident version of what I'm saying, right? But I understand that these highs and lows, and I'm sure we're not the only creative who's watching
Of
this,
course.
who will also feel these things.
I know.
And I'm sure that there's music will still will maximize and hit the people that it needs to hit, and it will change people's lives and perspectives on whatever they need to do. I'm aware of all that happening, but at the same time, how I feel is different. Now, we can't always control how we feel. I'm a firm believer of that. We can't. We can control our attitudes. We can control our behaviors. Now, my attitudes and behaviors toward it is like, yo, it's about to be lit. I'm really excited right now. I'm very excited. But there are feelings that are present too that are the complete opposite of that. And there are ways and means to knock me off of the pivot to walk into what is coming toward me. And yeah, walking into the the confidence of the fact that this is the case. Like, the music is coming out, that this was a long time coming, but all the work that's put in is going to reap the benefits that it will reap. And the weapons, once again, are present, but they're not going to prosper, okay? And yeah, just I'm feeling like I'm excited for what this is about to do. But I'm not in a spot where I'm in a spot where I'm emotionally detached from the outcome.
Okay. That's honest. That's very honest, and I think necessary that we get to hear that honesty. That as we listen to the album and the music, we understand that it comes from a place that is of concern not only for yourself but also for us as an audience and how we receive the music.
Yeah.
So that's thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
that.
Yeah. Because it's always easy to be like, yeah, like, yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm super excited, man. You know, which I am. I definitely am. And I'm also working on making sure that as this happens, as more interviews and things like that occur, as more conversations around this happen, that the transparency of, okay, like, still having these emotions. I don't need to necessarily have to be, I'm sure this is mad funny that I'm envisioning this already, but I'm envisioning, or at least these storylines of like people who were like, man, like, yeah, this album was like really great for them or whatever. I'm sure like we have countless interviews with the greats of the industry who've been able to say, yeah, like, yeah, that project that seemed to hit so many people, I like actually hated. Like, you know, that's not what I'm saying at all, but just the willingness to be transparent in the feelings and emotions that don't mean that they define you, but it's just the reality of the situation. So yeah, figured sharing that would be cool. Yeah.
Would you say that, or rather, what would you say this project coming out is going to do and to the confidence you have of yourself as an artist?
Man, that's a good question. I'd say it'll definitely help my confidence. I think each time you release something, depending on where you are at in emotional attachment to the thing that you're releasing, depends on usually like the timeline that it took for you to make it. The person who maybe had made one single and released it, recorded one single a week ago and released it today, you know what I mean? Wouldn't have as much of a emotional attachment, or at least care for the outcome, as someone else who's been doing it for like a year, trying to create a whole album and now like have a whole universe around it and everything. Yeah, I'd say my confidence itself is definitely going to be way, way better than what it has been. And I've always been confident in my artistry and my abilities. I think just like having the willingness to be able to kind of just be, I say this is the most vulnerable music I think I've put out. So that being the case, it's just very like, oh, like this is great. Like that's going to be on people's phones forever. Cool, good.
On their playlists. Listen.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I'm so happy that even our audience is now gonna get to like know you a little bit better,
Yeah,
understand
facts.
the music a little bit better, and get to see the man behind the music.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's always that wonder that we get to have, and I say us because I'm also part of the audience. I'm not excluding myself. That we always get to wonder and ask ourselves, and where would you say you are right now? What season are you in?
We just talked about how I do not like
You
claiming
don't like this?
seasons.
I know,
It's
and I
just
asked
such
that question
it's
specifically because of that. Like,
such an
but
interesting question.
where are you right now? From just an emotional point of view, mental, spiritual, like just overall, because that informs the artistry then also going forward, right? So in this phase right now.
Yeah, I'd say right now I'm in a spot where I'd say if I had to define the season that I'm in, I'd say that it's a period of time for me to really see if what God's promises are really true. Like which ones of those are true that I'm supposed to be walking in that I'm not walking in yet for whatever reason. So isolating those moments I think is a real thing. Like I'm also just in the season of application. Yeah.
What does that look like?
So like, okay, if, say if Jesus is saying, hey, like I've given you over all authority over the enemy. You could trample over snakes and scorpions and nothing will ever harm you.
Yeah.
Cool. Or no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Cool. Or your gift will make room for you. Cool.
Pull through with the scriptures. Now.
What do all of those things really mean in an application standpoint?
Yeah, practical.
It means that I should be confident in every room I walk into. It means, okay, if I do believe that God is sovereign, that means that there should never be a period in my life where I don't think, where I think I'm somewhere I'm not supposed to be. Because you're never not where you're supposed to be.
Or else you wouldn't be there.
Wouldn't be there. So just really just letting that be my like area toward things, even when things aren't going the way I want them to. Just kind of like, okay, well, this isn't happening for some reason, or this is happening for a reason. So that's cool. So I'm just like applying this. And so that's what I mean by a season of application, where it's like, okay, like I may not understand why something's happening or what I'm supposed to be doing right now, quote unquote, but I just know that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing, which is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. And the audience is going to be receiving this, I'd say, gift. That's how I envision. Like that's when I released my book, I was like, oh, this is my 21st birthday gift to the world.
That's good. That's good though. That's so strong. Yeah.
So I see it as gifts.
Yeah.
That you're kind of sharing out. So when are they going to be able to access this gift that you presented?
It's going to be accessible. I like that. It's going to be good. You could access
so
this gift.
Day. It's just another amount of them accessing it.
Yes. That's good. Yep. So it'll be available on streaming platforms on October 11th. So that's cool. Very exciting times. If you're watching this after October 11th, it's out now. So you should check it out for sure.
Well, they're definitely going to be seeing it before. October 11th, Luke Waldron.
A Love Suite.
Yes. I was so shocked when I heard, it was in the group chat. It's like, Luke is having an album. Talking about it. So I was like, interesting, okay. And I saw A Love, and I saw the color red. I was like, oh, maybe he's talking about the love of Jesus. I was like...
Sorry, quick thing that makes it even funnier. Okay, so my mom has told me on multiple occasions, like, these songs would be great gospel songs.
Oh,
but
really?
they're not. And so I'd be like, well, hey, Song of Songs is in there.
It's not about Jesus.
Not about Jesus in this one. Not about Jesus, saints, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But no, it's Songs of Solomon. Okay, you know what I mean. It's still in the Bible.
Some stuff on that book of Solomon, though. Some stuff in that Songs of Solomon, though. They don't preach about that in the church.
They ain't going to. Okay, and it was in there, but it's in the Bible though. Okay, it's in there. So let's not get all confused about this. Yes, it is love in a romantic state, if you will. Yes. It's not necessarily in the but yes.
And that's why the Bible's cool, because it's like it just covers everything.
Yes.
Like it's there. It's
It's
literally
all
there.
in there. It's all in there.
And that guy Solomon be out here like he be out here like just him and David. You see those two?
Mm-hmm.
Those two, man,
Really,
they be out here wilding
Wow.
out.
Wow. And I'll be like, hey, God, everything in the Bible is God breathed, right? So, hey, it's there too.
They
So.
be out there.
Yeah.
But okay, so it's and I think love in and of itself, again, from a Christian point of view, it's not unpacked enough. So getting to hear music that explores that from a holistic point of view,
Yeah.
and not from a detrimental point of view, where we understand the multiplicities and the differences of what love can, from a feeling and an emotion point of view, can bring. Right. But overall, as you said, track 7 is at the end of it all. Love is not a bad thing.
Really
love
not.
is a good thing.
Yeah.
And you should experience it in all of its climax that it comes in from. Would we ever get a gospel album from Luke Waldron?
Sorry. I was seeing like the camera switch as soon as you asked
saw
that question. That was like really intense. Okay, but yeah. So will you? I'd say yes.
I feel like you'll give us everything.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not limited to anything.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to the music, I don't really see myself really doing anything that would be anti-Christ.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So definitely a gospel album for sure. And don't think, saints, okay, that you are
like
listening to some crazy nonsense, because it's not, we're not saying Jesus every other word. It's still a holistic space that I do believe God obviously has a part in and will reach the people that it's supposed to reach. And I do believe that everything that I play, everything I touch does have the Holy Spirit within it, because it's within me. So therefore I'm creating things that have obviously me in it. Then obviously Jesus, his Spirit, his Holy Spirit, all of this stuff will go before me in whatever it is that I create. So that being kind of the vibe of it isn't anti-Christ just because it's not a Christian gospel album. But you will get a Christian gospel album very soon in the near future.
Nice.
Yeah, but let's focus on A Love Suite right now.
Right now.
We
in love right now.
We love right now. Okay? We love right now. That's right.
I'm excited for it. And I know, everyone at home is as well. And I've heard the single. Super exciting.
Yes.
And because again, we get to hear music from a holistic point of view. And I love music.
Hey.
I was the girl in the choir in church.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a choice but to know and love music.
Yes.
But I also I like the music that is holistic, because it has an essence. Again, it comes from the source internally, blah, 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 the whole deep stuff. But it's exciting for me.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to this album. Do you have a favorite song? Unfair question, but
man, everything is so good on there, and they all have like such a specific memory to it. I'd say probably the best is definitely my favorite.
That's track number 5.
5
or 4? No, it's 5.
5.
The way I'm like as if I know the album.
There's a track
at this
list
point,
out there. There's a track list that exists. Okay, yeah, it's 5.
Okay.
5.
Yay.
Yeah. So definitely look out for number 5, and yeah.
Are you singing number 5?
I am singing number 5
okay.
and playing saxophone actually.
Okay.
So it's like a little bit of both happening on that one. But yeah, for that song there was a potential to do certain edits to it that I chose not to. This is once again my very most vulnerable work, and it's intentional. So any things that you may be like, why don't you just edit it out or whatever? Nah, it's all a part of it. So everything on there is extremely intentional. It's actually kind of crazy. So don't take anything you hear for granted.
It's storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the name of the song again?
The Best. The Best
okay.
is there's one of my favorite ones. Not my favorite one. Although this is the leading question.
Wait, what?
One of my favorite ones. Okay, all of them are fantastic, and I love them so dearly.
Yeah. Okay, so you've released a single.
Yeah, called Never Stop,
Never
which is on
Stop.
streaming platforms now.
Can you give us you obviously know I'm going to put you on the spot, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So you're going to sing the best something.
Or not.
Or not.
Okay, sure. Okay.
I mean,
man,
maybe a line.
maybe
I can sing it with you if you teach me how to sing.
sing it with you is hilarious. Okay.
How does it go?
Okay, word. Yeah. So just snap your fingers. So.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Good. Okay. Dum, popira, pira, tira, dum, popira, pira, tira, dum, potira, tira, dum, tira, tira, dum, potira, pira, tira, dum, tira, hey, tira, dum, tira, tira, dum, tira, 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 I don't wanna give you what's left of my own. I want to give you the best.
The best.
There it is. Yeah, nice. It's good. Yeah, so that's essentially the thing. So yeah, it's good vibes. It's cool.
Man. It's so interesting hearing you sing. I like.
You didn't hear me
it
talk
takes-
until
it- you-
2. Yeah.
I haven't heard you speak, and then I heard you sing. I'm like, wait. Now there's Luke, the guy who plays the saxophone.
Yes.
And then there's this other guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait. So
Yeah,
even now I'm like, that was good. So that's
Cool.
the best.
Yeah.
Track number 5, y'all check it out.
Yeah.
And give us. I had a free concert right now.
You did have a free concert, yes.
Like I got a free,
Yes.
50-second concert.
Yes.
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Do you have a favorite gospel hymn? You probably like all of them.
So many good ones, though.
Do you know which one I like?
Which one's yours?
God Is, but the Melvin Crispell one.
Okay, word. I don't think I'm hip. I really don't
You
think I'm
haven't heard
hip. I don't think so.
They've actually sang it at the church before.
Okay.
So it's like it's that you know Melvin Crispell III.
Yes.
So he is his current album.
Got you.
God is the joy.
Sure,
And
sure,
the
sure.
strength
Yes,
of
yes,
it. I
yes.
love that song.
That's good.
Like, oh man.
That's
And
good,
the
that's
way
good.
and then I heard the original and I was like, it's not the same. But it's like it has a
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
God is
Yeah.
I love it. But
Yeah.
that's my favorite. In an American context, but because back home we have
Sure, you have way
other-
more
yeah.
things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to put me on to some artists from you back home because I want to tap
Oh,
into
really,
that
really?
real-
We got some
real
good
bad.
ones.
You guys are, it's like a different thing over there. So
We got some
yeah,
good
like
ones.
a really good vibe. Yeah.
We are big jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz is one of our big genres
Yeah.
that at least we export out.
Cool.
And then obviously my piano. I'm sure you've heard.
Yes, of course. You're like, I'm just gonna put that in there.
I
for a
don't
second."
know.
Yes. Yeah.
So we've got my piano. We've got we're a big jazz community. I love jazz music,
Yeah.
even though I'm so young. But it's just my dad used to play
Yeah.
jazz.
Oh, cool. What do you play?
What do I play?
What did he play?
Oh, so he played like Winston. It's like South African jazz artists, like
Cool.
older ones, like in the 80s and
Sure,
stuff like
sure,
that. So like that's what I listened to. Like on our trips driving to the Eastern Cape, we would listen to like Shirley Caesar, Aretha Franklin, and like those kind of old soul stuff.
Sure, sure.
And then he would play those like jazz artists, no singing, just the music.
Yeah.
And we would play that over and over
So
and
good.
over and
Yeah.
over again. And then obviously gospel, because my dad is a pastor, my mom is a pastor. My dad plays the keys. So you can imagine at home, like
Yeah.
he plays the keys, everyone's singing. I have brothers who also sing the different parts, then my mom would sing a part, and I'd sing a part, and the whole thing. So music was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Not from like a technical point of view, but just like from a church point of view.
Yeah. Cool.
So, but I'm gonna put you on some folks.
That sounds good. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yeah. This was fun.
This is fun. Anything you wanna make sure to lay out before we wrap it up?
Yeah. My name is Luke Waldron. This was really a lot of fun. I think you should all subscribe to this YouTube channel right now. If you haven't already, which is weird for you to not have done that. Like, you should have done that. Got to do better. Make sure that whatever you're like doing or working on is like the product of your own conclusion. Like, make sure that you're not just like going through life or feel like you're going through the motions, but like be there, like be doing whatever you're doing and mean what you say, and don't just drift through this whole life thing. Like, participate in it, because it needs you to be in it. Like, there's not another you ever that will exist after this. So just yeah.
Do you want to leave a scripture on the table as well? Just one, just for vibes.
Okay.
One scripture that's like, maybe that could encourage someone watching. I know a lot of people, our age group, our age mates, a lot of struggle right now, as life be lifing, and just like, you know. So if there was a word that you would like maybe leave for the community watching,
Yes.
that would, you know, encourage, and that they would feel and remember when also listening to the music from you as the mouthpiece of this sound that God wanted you to put out.
Yes. Okay, I have one that I'm thinking.
And it doesn't have to be like all technical or anything like that. It's just like, or maybe your favorite scripture.
Go to verse is Hebrews 4:15. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we were, yet did not sin. The reason why I'm bringing that up is just to remember that God really has you and understands. You don't have, God is not this super high and mighty person that's like super far away.
Yeah.
He's in here right now saying, hey, I'm with you. And especially for our age group, like, it's very easy to isolate yourself and feel like, man, I'm not where I want to be, or looking at somebody else, whatever they got going on, and comparing, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, just remember, we don't have a high priest that's super far away from us. We don't have our creator that's just the creator of all things, and he's like this super massive thing. No, he is that, and he's also right here with you, holding your hand and guiding you through, and he has your best interest, and he knows how you feel, like you're not alone ever.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Word.
I'm also getting encouraged by that right now.
Cool.
Because it'd be hard, you know, being so far away from home. And,
Yeah, sure.
And all of those stuff and all of that stuff. So I'm going to also take that scripture and just like hold on to it as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah, that's about it. Do you have a Grammy?
No.
Okay. Why do I think that? Why do I think?
Because I think God is telling you that I'm going to get one soon.
I genuinely, I think, I was like, maybe it's your name. Maybe your name is giving Grammy. It's like,
I like that. I receive
Waldron.
all of that.
Look,
yes.
Waldron, everybody.
Yeah, that sounds, yes. Yes, it sounds very Grammy worthy. Yes.
I know.
That's good.
It's like, you know, when parents who are strategic and smart,
right?
they name their kids very interestingly.
Literally.
They give their kids names that sound like oh, I can see that in a billboard, or I can see
Yeah.
that, on a stage somewhere.
That's cool.
It would sound cool mentioning on a stage,
That's crazy. I've definitely heard that about my name.
I think so.
So that's cool. That's a confirmation right there. That's what's up.
Waldron. Luke Waldron. Luke Waldron. Luke Waldron.
It does sound strong. Like, it sounds strong when you say it like that.
Right?
Yeah, literally, yeah, it is pretty.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, this
welcome
is good.
onto the stage. Grammy
Oh, man,
award-winning artist.
This is good.
All the way from New York City. Here to perform the best. It is the one and only Luke Waldron.
Yeah.
And then you start. And then you go.
And then I go,
And it's
yeah.
over for everybody in the room.
Literally.
Right? But I genuinely thought maybe you were contributing to a Grammy. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
you maybe contributed to a Grammy award-winning
Not yet.
album. Or
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Well,
But soon, though, obviously. Since it's coming up right now, this is
Yeah.
all, yeah, it's already happening.
it
so I'm
is.
excited.
I think it is, and I think it should very soon. If you haven't checked him out yet, it is Luke Waldron on social media. I'm
Yeah.
correct too. It is Luke Waldron, right?
Yeah.
So
So So LukeWaldron.mp3 is the ideal one to be able to get in contact with me for music.
okay.
And then there's just Luke Waldron _, which is my personal if you want like to be directed with me or like reach out for other stuff. But yeah, like LukeWaldron.mp3 is my go-to Insta. Yeah.
Got it. So people who want to hear music, they go to MP3, and people who like want to crush on you and like they
Yes.
go on your personal.
Oh, that. Yeah. Or stalk.
I'm
Stalk me
joking,
if you
I'm
choose.
joking.
Stalk if you choose. Whatever. Either one is good. Yeah.
I was just joking, but okay, cool. So and what platform did God say you must go for?
I have no idea. He hasn't answered my prayer
Okay.
yet.
He hasn't given you the direction.
He hasn't given me the answer, but
God.
we're going to just go for all of it right now.
Yeah. So you're YouTube, have a YouTube. Okay.
Yep. So YouTube, TikTok as well. Instagram would be the most
Ideal.
most updated
Okay.
kind of version of it. So yeah.
Alrighty, October 11th
Yes.
is when, of course, we're expecting and anticipating this upcoming A Love Suite by Luke Waldron.
Yes.
Do you like it when I say that? Luke Waldron.
Yes, it's good. That's
How do
good.
you say
That's
it?
strong. Luke Waldron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Luke Waldron.
Yeah.
would
It's
say-
still yeah. Yeah.
Luke Waldron. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming through and just hanging out.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. Literally hang out.
Literally. Yeah.
And thank you at home for tuning in on this installment of the Vuyo Show. I hope that you're going to enjoy the album, y'all. I'm going to say it again. October 11th, A Love Suite by Luke Waldron. Go wherever you listen to your music, find it, listen to it. And let us know how much of your heart breaks or how much of the memories that you have of when you
How much
listen
does it
to
trigger you? Is
How
the
much
question.
How much is it triggering you? But at the end of it all, and I'm not going to forget that, you
Yeah.
said at the end of it all, track 7,
Mhm.
you feel good.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to hold on to.
Yep.
Right? Thank you once again all for tuning in. I am your favorite global darling, Vuyo Chaboda. And this is the Vuyo Show. So thank you once again. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers for now. Yay.
Hey.
Hey.
Yes.
That was good. That was good. How do you feel?